Hey, Trudy here, One Grounded Angel. This is the angel card reading for the week starting Monday, May the 11th to the 17th, 2020. This is actually a re-record. I recorded this video already, played it back, a little bit of it back, and the sound quality was rubbish. So here I am re-recording it and hoping for the best. If you're watching this, it obviously worked out okay. But what that means is I've already shuffled the cards and dealt them. So I know what's coming up. So what I'm going to do now is talk you guys through them. So what I said, I feel like I'm just going to tell you what I've already said, but maybe it'll come out differently, who knows. But I was talking initially about how last week was intense. Like, it was pretty massive. We had a supermoon in Scorpio, intense sign, intense lunar movement, and I know from my conversations with some of you that you've been feeling it. I felt it too, but I'm a Scorpio moon, so no surprises there. It can really rattle you, can bring a lot of things to the surface. Scorpio is all about what's going on underneath, for better or for worse, but we need to obviously work through what's going on underneath to actually move forward. The roots bear the fruits, as they say. So I know it's been uncomfortable for some of you, but hopefully you've managed to figure out this is what I need to work on next, because Scorpio is all about emotional and energetic healing. So and it's also about the past, which makes Monday's card super relevant. So here we have this is from the Goddess Guidance card deck. The goddess depicted here is Isis, and the message is past life, I should say. So two ways to look at this. The first is your history. So what you're dealing with at the moment has its roots in what you've already experienced in this lifetime. Maybe you, potentially, maybe it goes back to your childhood, particularly if it's a relationship struggle. So much of our beliefs about relationships, the way we approach relationships, whether we feel safe or not in relationships, whether we're able to trust people, all comes back to our childhood. It's those first 7 to 8 years of our lives in particular are super formative, but that obviously all of what we experience, what we're exposed to, shapes what we expect from the world and whether we're able to trust, etc. So there might be that going on. Could be events specifically that happened to you there that have influenced you, or it could just be something small that you were exposed to that has influenced the way you are responding, or what's coming up for you within the situation you're in now. Second meaning is, of course, past lives. Now, I'm big on reincarnation. As I mentioned, I'm a Scorpio moon, also a Scorpio sun, the sign of transformation, which means you have to go over the past in order to move forward. You can't lug all your emotional baggage through each phase of your life, or you can, but it'll be hard for you to make progress. So I'm really into reincarnation, and what I've found in the energy healing work I've done, if we can't find a reason that somebody is afraid of something, or that they're holding on to something and they don't know where it's come from, generally it's past life. A lot of us have had experiences in past lives where issues weren't resolved, we had horrific traumas, and we're carrying fears around that repeating. We are responding to things that we can't even see, basically, in an energetic level. And I know sometimes people say, oh, I'm an old soul. We're all old souls. We've all gone through a lot. And the problem is, well, not the problem, but the thing is, not everybody is aware of that, and not everybody wants to deal with it, which is absolutely fine. I never try and force my ideas about reincarnation onto anyone else, because like all of you, I'm a student here, I'm not an expert. So that is what I personally believe. It's what resonates for me, but I know people have different ideas about that. And what I've found in my energy healing work, because I do clear energy from past lives, even though I don't actually have the ability to see what has happened in past lives, we can clear, there's a particular, I guess, a protocol that I use that does sweep right back through your entire lifetime, your soul's entire lifetimes. So yeah, that's something you might want to think about. If this keeps happening for me, especially if something's a pattern, you keep attracting the wrong type of person in relationships, or you keep getting nowhere in a particular job situation, there might be something going on there. And if you can't figure out what it is, maybe just open a little door and say, this could be a past life thing. And if you're really fascinated by that, you might like to do some reading into the work of Dr. Brian Weiss. That's W-E-I-S-S. Dr. Brian Weiss, who's American, done a lot of great work in this area. Or you might like to actually go and see a past life regression therapist yourself and do some regressions into past lives. Tuesday, commitment. So you can see by the love heart here that this is mostly talking about romantic commitments, but there is another side of it which I'll address first, and that is about the things that you've committed to. Now, I know most of us are in a sort of a waiting phase at the moment. Things are on hold because of the pandemic, and that's okay. The card is saying it's time to start committing to things, and that doesn't mean violating your government restrictions. Of course, you must honour those. But what it means is thinking about, what is it I want to create when the restrictions lift, and how can I get started with plans for that? Because this is a great time for self-reflection, unless of course you're an essential worker, in which case I realise you probably don't have a lot of time or scope to do that right now. But for everybody else, what is it you want to create? What are the goals you set that you abandoned? Come back and commit to those. And if you're thinking about starting something, this card is often a yes, commit to it. And the other side of things, of course, is about romantic relationships. The commitments we made, we can sometimes, particularly in longer term relationships, we can get a bit complacent about. And this might be encouraging you to invest fresh energy into that relationship in terms of, reflecting on what it is you want from that relationship, how you can enhance that, how you can get a deeper level of intimacy, which again is a very Scorpionic message from last week's moon, because the energy is still around us, of course, until the next new moon. And Scorpio is all about intimacy, and that's not just sexual, it's also emotional. And to get a deeper level of emotional intimacy, which is a journey over the course of a relationship, we need to be looking at what's getting in the way of us actually sitting into that. And spoiler alert, we've got another card about that coming up, which I only know because of course I've already dealt these cards. So looking at how you can nurture and strengthen those commitments, and if you're not in a romantic relationship, it can also be your friendships, your ride or die, your even your siblings if you're close to. Just trust what comes up for you around that. But even if you are single, you can still be looking at what are the blocks I've got towards a romantic relationship. And that's not to say you should be in a romantic relationship, because being single is a really fantastic time and really hugely influential in your growth. So it's not about going through the growth to get to a relationship, because that may not be a necessary outcome for you or a desirable outcome for you. But it might be just looking at how can I make sure I'm not blocking off love, because love is something that comes in all sorts of forms, and particularly a better relationship with ourselves. That might be something you could focus on. Wednesday's card is called Mending Bridges, and it's about repairing wounds of the past, but it doesn't have to be, unlike Monday's card, it doesn't have to be way, way back, although it could be. And what I would say in regards to this card is it doesn't mean you have to reconnect with somebody from the past. If you want to, go for it. But I am a big believer that trying to knock on the door of someone who's hurt you and dig around for an apology that you probably won't get, or putting yourself in a situation where you're going to be gaslit or hurt all over again is probably not a good idea. That's just my approach. I don't advocate for trying to forgive, because I think that's just too hard sometimes. What I advocate for is trying to look within yourself how you can heal those wounds within yourself. And I know a lot of people have found it really helpful to write a letter to the person, pouring out their feelings, burning it, ripping it up. What you really need to be asking is, what is it I actually needed that I didn't get in that? Was it love? Was it support? Was it to be heard? Has that shown up elsewhere? If so, is this a pattern I need to address with the help of a spiritual healer, a counselor, a therapist? Or is this something that I need to reconcile within myself in terms of thinking, what can I learn from that I will not do again? To really, because if you can get a lesson from it, then you know it hasn't been in vain, at least. It doesn't take away the hurt, I know, but it's something. What was I going to say about this? I've completely forgotten. So I just had a thought about this. I'm sure it'll come back if it needs to. Oh, that's right. I know the idea mending bridges. There is an old narrative in our society that means that you have to go and just get over it, basically. You have to build a bridge. It's the word bridge again, and just get over it. And I don't think we can just get over things necessarily. I think there's a reason they hurt us, and we need to sit with that and not try and avoid it and go, oh well, they can't hurt me, it's their loss or whatever. I mean, if that's helpful for you, by all means do that, but I just don't think it's about, I don't think it's necessarily about trying to move on without doing the work. Thursday's card is focus. And I think this kind of links into what I said earlier about commitments in terms of committing to goals or values. And by the way, I'm not advocating getting back into this intense productivity cycle that we were in before the pandemic, because I think so much of what was happening before the pandemic was broken and it needed to change. And this is our opportunity to think about, how am I going to build something better? How am I going to build a life where I'm not, not spending any time with my family, for example, or I'm depriving myself of my my self-care or my health and well-being needs on a basic level. So those are some questions you might like to think about. But the card is asking you to focus on what it is you want. What is the new life you want? And to be really quite single-minded in that. Don't try to scatter your energy and try to fix everything all at once. I'm wary about using the word fix, but it seems like the best one in this scenario. Don't try to do everything at once. Just focus on what seems to be the first cab off the rank that needs addressing. It might be your relationship, it might be your job situation, it might be your living arrangements. Whatever it is, when you are in a situation to actually fix that, because maybe now is not the time. But just get really clear on focusing on what you want instead of trying to jump around, do everything at once, or even not doing anything, which is, and just staying in this sort of endless worry cycle, stress out, do nothing, causes more stress, and around we go again. Friday's card, as I hinted earlier, is about blocks to love. So this card, the heart chakra, is about making sure we're removing blocks to both giving and receiving love. And I know I talk about this a lot, but in case this is new for you, we need to be able to give and receive love, ideally in equal measure. There will be times when one is giving more than the other. Perhaps one person is sick, the other person is going to need to give more care and not be able to get a lot back from that person. But these are cycles, they're not the norm. So if you are in a relationship, be it romantic, a friendship, or even like a family relationship where you are giving and getting nothing back, you really need to look at, why am I allowing this to happen? Do I think this is what love looks like? If that's the case, you've got a bit of work to do to really unpack that. And also B, would I actually welcome anyone giving me something? Because sometimes the people who are in the giving are doing it not because it's a virtue, but because they aren't wanting to receive anything back, because they're scared of receiving good things. They are afraid that it will be taken away from them because they've never had anything good in their lives, or because it feels selfish for them because they just haven't been treated well in their upbringing, perhaps. I'm just throwing these out there, by the way. There are all sorts of reasons people can be really blocked off to receiving. Often it's a distraction because they don't want to work on their own stuff. All sorts of things can go on there. Equally, if you're of the take, and I very rarely meet people in this. I know they're out there, I meet them socially, but in terms of my spiritual work, not a lot of people of that mindset tend to gravitate towards spirituality. I know it happens, but certainly not the ones that are drawn into my kind of orbit. If you are, though, of the take, maybe you didn't get your needs met as a child, so you grew up with this kind of there's not enough for me type of mentality. And that means that if you have to give something up, it feels very terrifying because you might not be able to get anything back. So that's just a very brief overview, and I hope that didn't sound too much like a word vomit. Hopefully some of it was useful. The heart chakra is an energy center which energy flows through, and if it is blocked, out of balance, it just means the love energy regarding this particular chakra is not going to flow evenly. You're going to find it hard to show up for your relationships. You're going to find it hard to be vulnerable. You're going to find it hard to really be authentic. And so these are the things that you need to think about. What is getting in the way of me getting a deeper level of intimacy in my romantic relationship, or sharing more? And when I say sharing, it's not about giving in terms of doing things for them. It's about giving of yourself, being authentic. In terms of your friendships And is it because maybe some of those friendships are past their use-by date? This happens a lot. People try to stay in friendships because you have so many wonderful memories. And actually often friendships change and it's time to let go, but people find that really feel like that's disloyal. And the truth is that a lot of friendships are designed to be short-term. So people try to feel really triggered by the idea of having to let go, so they go overboard trying to save something that has actually already sort of expired. Anyway, Saturday's card, we have two. Giving and receiving, basically everything I just said about giving and receiving, it needs to be kind of balanced. And if it's not, you need to look at, is this something to do with me? Because it's very easy to blame other people. Oh, they never do anything for anyone else. Why are you giving to them if they don't give to anyone else? What are you looking for here? Why are you feeding this unhealthy dynamic? That's a big question for you. Does this remind you of something from your past, maybe that you are trying to heal from, but missing the kind of memo of how you go about healing it? Instead, you're just feeding it and enabling that unhealthy treatment. Big message there, I know. Look at whether you are maybe not giving to yourself as well. It's not just about other people, whether you're depriving yourself of self-care, whether you are not letting people help you as well, even if it's not in relationships. You're not, you might be struggling financially because of the pandemic, but you're not willing to ask for help from other people. That's something you really need to work on. Do you have some unhealthy ideas about shame or some pride that's getting in the way of you actually being able to be nourished by other people, which means you have more to give to other people ultimately, not necessarily materially, but across the board. So the second card here is assertiveness. The mistake that a lot of people, in my experience, a lot of people make here is they mistake assertiveness for aggression. So they think that being assertive, which just means to stand up for yourself and to ask for what you need, they think that means they're being pushy, they're being rude, that they're being demanding, or that they're going to be mean to people. There is a way to be assertive with love, to stand your ground with love, without attacking people, without, personally hurting people. It's really important. It's about setting boundaries and holding firm to those, and understanding that you actually deserve to have those boundaries there. You're not a bad person for wanting to set boundaries. You're someone who's trying to teach people how to treat you, and that's a big part of all of our soul's lessons in this lifetime. So it's very important to work on that. And if you're struggling with it, definitely reach out to an energy healer like myself to help you work through that, because if there are underlying things going on there, unhealthy beliefs, fears, traumas going on, it's going to be really difficult for you to set those boundaries. And once you do set them, you'll start to attract people who do honor them. So if you're attracting people who don't want to treat you fairly, that indicates that there's something else going on there. So if you are facing a particular situation at the moment which is pushing your buttons, this card can tend to come up to remind you, stand your ground. Don't let people treat you badly. Do not try to martyr yourself to make it easier for other people. The right thing to do is often not the easy thing to do. That's just unfortunately the deal. But doing the easy thing often can, in some situations, can cause more pain and suffering in the long term. And so it's really important you stand up for yourself. And if you need help getting the right words to do that, call on Archangel Gabriel, who is associated with communication. You can do this out loud in your head, whatever. Just say, Gabriel, please guide me with the words I need in this interaction so I can express myself with love, but still be assertive. Archangel Michael, give me the courage and the strength to stand in my own power. I don't know. That's not a script that you have to follow. That's just me ad-libbing, but you can words to that effect. You can just say, Gabriel, please help me with my words. It can be that simple. They'll always know what you mean anyway. So Sunday, take back your power. I mean, this kind of underlines everything that's come up here, and as you will soon hear, that is one of the big themes of the week. Standing in your own power. Do not put yourself last. And when I say put yourself last, that doesn't mean you have to go around being a bully. In fact, please do not go around being a bully. It means you need to find a way to assert your needs, to stand in your power without, being apologetic, without feeling guilty, just with an understanding that is your right and that you deserve that. don't be a victim. This one comes up for people who are blaming other people for what's happened in their lives. And that's not to say that other people might not have, you know, played a huge role in some of the pain that you've experienced, but you know, the healing is your responsibility. So if you continue to blame them and hold them to account, you're giving away your power. You're handing over your power. So you can still be angry at someone and wish something hadn't happened, but also stand in your own power and go, I'm going to do something about this now. I'm not going to continue sitting in this wound. I'm going to fix it. That's empowerment. And if you're in a relationship situation, instead of just hoping they'll read your mind and treat you better because they should know better, that's often what people say, oh, well, they should know better. Well, they won't know better unless you teach them. This is how I deserve to be treated. If you go out, you don't call me, and I ask you to tell me where you are and when you'll be home, and you don't do that, that tells me you don't care about me. That tells me that you're not willing to treat me with respect. That's a problem. This is why you need to do it. I don't know, that's just an example. Okay, so for the week, as I said, standing in your power, being assertive, really strong, healing relationship wounds, anything from the past. In fact, any emotional kind of healing is big this week, and setting some goals and intentions for what we actually want to focus on as we move forward. That's it for the week. I love how this video was supposed to be shorter because I was not shuffling, yet it's 21 minutes. So I think it's actually longer than what the original one was. You obviously got a whole lot more information on what the previous video involved. So that's it. As you know, I post these cards on my Instagram and my Facebook each day. My Instagram is at @OneGroundedAngel. My Facebook page is called One Grounded Angel. If any of this has been triggering for you, or you've got a sort of a light bulb moment, or an aha moment, as Oprah would say, and you're thinking, I need to actually work through this. I am an energy healer. I work with people all over the world via Zoom. I was doing that before the pandemic, and I'm continuing to do it now. So distance is no issue, and you can reach out to me for more information on how my work can help you. And if I don't think I can help you with your situation, I will just tell you. I won't just waste your time. So you can find out how to contact me on my website, www.onegroundedangel.com. That's onegroundedangel.com. There is a tab called bookings. There is also tabs for healing, what I do, how I work, etc. I think it's called How I Work, and that will give you a lot of information as well. So thank you very much for being with me. Have a great week. I hope it's a lot easier for you than last week was, because I know that was a little bit of a challenge. Take care.